Hey, footy fans, welcome to the Point of Difference Rugby League podcast. I'm your host, Dave, and today we're going back in the day with a South's Balmain and boxing legend. Definitely perfect for a Point of Difference Rugby League podcast. It is definitely fantastic to have the one and only Garth Woods on the show. How are you, man?
Geez, thanks for that, Dave. That was a good intro. It's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you, buddy. How are you?
Oh, mate, I'm fantastic. Yeah, got to practice the old intro occasionally, but most of the time I just wing it. So I do pretty well, actually.
Yeah, join the club. I've done most of my work winging it, so there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, man, that's the way. That's the way. Just always edit it out if you have to. So what have you been up to, man? Like, what have you been doing with yourself these days?
Mate, I was running a gym probably 10 months ago. Sadly enough, it's a hard business. It's very cutthroat. There's gyms opening up on every block, every corner, given that I had a boxing gym. Sadly, I had to part away from that business. It was just too tough. I was ending up losing money, which is sad because I was actually looking after a lot of the young kids in Balmain who, way I was brought up as a kid, you either use your energy on something positive, which is training, either doing a sport, boxing, or a team sport, which is football. So I was taking care of some of the kids in the local Balmain, Glebe area, keeping them off the streets, getting into some mischief. And sadly enough, I had to walk away from them because it was just, I was running in the ground more or less. So I went through 2 coronas and then interest rate went up and it was just suffering. So I had to leave that part of the game. And now I'm just working in the tunnels here in Sydney. So I'm working hard, working for me money, and I'm enjoying it. Things are good. Life's good.
Yeah, man, that's good to hear. You're looking great, man. You're staying in great shape these days. Still hitting the gym?
Mate, I try to. You know, the gym and working out and staying physical has always been a part of my life and my family. We've always been pretty sports orientated. And it's also good medicine for, I don't really suffer from mental illness, but everyone gets down in the dumps. And I think it's more like medicine than anything. So I try and train as much as I can. I'm actually going to start picking up a little bit because I've been slacking off a bit. So I think I'm just eating right and staying off the piss. That's probably why I'm looking pretty good.
Right. Yeah. I've got a beer for the podcast. Sorry.
Only in moderation.
Absolutely. Well, I ran 17.5K this morning, so I think I earned 1 beer. Yeah, no.
That's fair. That's a fair hike. Well done.
So yeah, anyway, so for those who don't know, this is actually the brother of one of my previous guests, Nat Wood. So it's pretty cool to have a set of brothers on the show for the first time. And you've got very different careers, for very different reasons, which I think is fantastic. And before we dig into that, what's it like growing up with a little prankster, Nat Wood?
I'll tell you, there's a fair few years between me and Nat. He's 6 years older than me, but he's been a great idol to look up to. He's a great sportsman. He's a character. We all know about the stories that we've all heard about him playing practical jokes on everyone, but I couldn't ask for a better brother. We're best mates, and he's always been there for me. And, he was always my idol. He's a very good footballer, try-scoring machine. So, yeah, he's great to look up to as a kid.
All right. He did give me a little bit of dirt on your childhood, saying you're a little bit scared of the dark growing up, but he had to look after you. And
yeah, I was always scared of the boogeyman. The sad thing was it was my brother because I shared a room with him and we shared the best name bed. So he always played big spoon and I played little spoon.
Oh, that's gold. I love it. Right. So speaking of your childhood, so where did you grow up? What was life like for you as a young fella? And like I hear you grew up in a fairly tough neighborhood. So how did that sort of translate into your life?
Well, mate, Erskineville's where we grew up. Erskineville, Alexandria, more or less, on the border. But it was in the 80s, so it was pretty tough area, I'd say. It was multicultural, fair bit of crime, drugs, and the school I went to was pretty how do I say it? It was pretty tough. There's some tough kids there. I got picked on as a young kid, but other than that, we had great mum and dad. We had a good household. Tough love with my old man, but everything else is a good knockabout area. Can't say much less than that, but it's definitely changed now. Erskineville, Alexandria, it's very the real estate market's gone through the roof. I don't think you can get a house for less than 2.5, and it's very arty-farty. Let me say that. Compared to how it was, we were pretty gangster minority and knockabout area back in the day.
Right. Okay. So when did the rugby league come in? Because your dad played rugby league. Obviously, your brother Nat played. So was that just something you naturally got into?
Yeah, it was always growing up in that area. Play football for your local team, which was the Rovers, Alexandria Rovers, or football. Newtown, actually, sorry, not football, boxing. So it was Newtown Police Boy Assistance Youth Club up the road. So I was more or less play footy, box, or get into trouble with the law. A lot of kids were stealing cars back then, and then they were moving on to heavy duty sort of stuff, robbers and that. But yeah, as if you could play sport, you're on a winning track there. You're not getting caught up in the other part of life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what was it about rugby league that kept you coming back? Was it that camaraderie, playing with your mates, getting outside, being active, all that sort of thing?
Mate, it was more or less my dad.
Okay.
My dad was doing pretty good after footy. He made some good money and he was pretty smart. We had a good house. We had a pool room and had all these old black and white photos up on the wall. So
yeah,
we had the likes that my dad played with, who were legends. Ronnie Coote, Bobby McCarthy, a bloke called Brian Chickamore, Tommy Rodonicus. So I had all these blokes up on the wall in the pool room, black and whites, and they're more or less, legends. We're not see them every now and then because Ron Coote and McDonald's in Newtown. Dad was still mates with Chico. He ran the police boys. And I just wanted to be exactly like my dad. My dad was my Superman. And when my brother started playing football and he was making all these rep teams and that, so more or less just played suit. Whatever your dad does and your big brother does, I want to be exactly like them. No, my heroes.
Awesome, man. I love that. So when you played, did you naturally take to the game? Was it something you felt you were a natural at, or did you have to really grind your way and work hard?
Mate, I loved it. I debuted in first grade at 17, but you know what? I didn't make all the rep teams. I sat on the bench for a couple of years, but I've just always been a hard worker, fit. Hard work gets you further than talent in my book.
Absolutely.
But I wanted to be. So my dad played first grade, my brother was playing first grade, and I just, I used to sleep with my football gear on, thinking it would give me special powers and that when I was a kid, thinking all I want to do is play first grade. So I eat, sleep, shit, football as a kid growing up.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. So who did you play for in your junior days as you came through the ranks?
Mate, my brother played for the Alexandria Rovers. Sad thing was they didn't have a team in my age. I tried to play upper grade 1 year, but I was only a scoring little freckle-headed kid. I got thrown around, so my dad said, "You're not playing upper grade." So I played for Moore Park, and then I played for Waterloo. I went everywhere because at that stage I started making the rep teams, Matthew Shield, SG Boss. I went from Waterloo to Maroubra, then I went to Matraville. So I was just a journeyman. When you just grow up and you make new friends every year, and you go to high school, you make some more new friends. So I just went anywhere when my mates would play footy. I finally eventually cracked grade. And, the camaraderie is something that's hard to beat. Even though I've done boxing and it's an individual sport, I guess, playing a game of sport where you're behind by 20 at half time and you come back and win on the bell, they're pretty memorable for sort of things, and the grit that you got to show as a team and a bond, you know what I mean? That's pretty hard to beat. But then there's the likes of standing in the ring opposite one bloke, you're more or less naked while the crowd are looking at you booing and heckling this and that. So they're pretty both two daunting sports that I put my hand up for, but the camaraderie with the rugby league is second to none. That's great.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. So you did make grade, and you signed with South Sydney for the 1997 ARL season with the two comps were split down the middle. So how did that all come about, signing with South, getting your first contract? And how long did they sign you for? And were any other clubs in ARL or Super League interested in you?
I had a few followers. Canberra were interested for a while, but I don't think I was still a mummy's boy. You know what I mean? So I don't think I was going to move down to Canberra away from my family and that. Mum did everything for me. She still wipes my ass now. So you can ask my girlfriend. She says you're a mummy's boy. So I don't think I was going to Canberra. There was talks of Melbourne for a stage, but I'm South born and bred, so my dad wore the red and green, so I wanted to do the same. So I stayed there for 3 years, I think 2.5 years, and then got an offer off Balmain and travelled over to the Tigers for a year. And then when they amalgamated with West, they said they were going to sign me, but they were reneged on a contract. So I was stuck without a team. And at that stage, I was sort of beating myself up, pissed at the world. But I'd also lived in the boxing gym most of my life because Dad was great mates with Johnny Lewis. So because I was a pretty handy fighter, I got myself in a bit of trouble at school. I thought I'll have a go. So I had a few amateur fights. I was trying to go to the Manchester Games, Commonwealth Games, and got to the final. Fought a bloke by the name of Jamie Pittman, who was the captain of Australia. Beat him, knocked him out, but they reckon that I hit him on the break, so I got disqualified. So I didn't get to make the team. But at that stage, South come back in the comp. So I went back and played a few more first grade games. And, it was good. By that age, by that time, I've got a little bit more beef and muscle on me because I was in my late 20s and I was playing on the wing for South. Avi Katinas got me back in the first grade. So they were good times to leave football and then make my way back and climb back in the first grade. I thought it was a good achievement because it's pretty hard to get back in the first grade, let alone play one game. So I was proud to get back and represent South. It was good times.
Absolutely, man. So speaking of South, when you did sign with them, coming into the club, your dad played for them. The club's just entrenched in so much rugby league history. Was it like a real proud moment to run out for the first time, wearing that Cardinal and Myrtle jersey, knowing all the great players that have come before you?
Yeah, I was that nervous. I think we played at Jubilee Oval, our first grade game against St George. And we were up with a star-standing team, like the likes of Jamie Ainscough, Jamie Ainscough, Lance Thompson, Stevenson's. They had a real good side. Chock was playing, Nathan Blacklock. So I was nervous. I was playing fullback, but I think we only just got beat on the bell, but I was happy with my performance. I made some good yards and took a few bombs. I think I scored a try, so I had a good debut. I was happy with it, but yeah, it was a lot of history, especially growing up in the area I grew up with. Everyone wanted to play for South. You had so many legends walking around town who still lived in the area, so very traditional club, and I loved debuting at the club. It was awesome.
Yeah, that debut, you went down 29-28 in a thriller. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was. I knew it was close. I've been hit in the head a couple of times. I knew it was a close game. I didn't quite know what the score was, but yeah, it was a ripper.
So that first season, so I went through the records. You played 4 games, 97. You went down twice by 1 point in 2 of the games. So you lost by a field goal in both of those. You got to the end of 97. We're like 4 games under your belt. You're still like really hungry to play more first grade? Did that light a fire in you to try to cement yourself in the top side?
I definitely was. I hadn't proved myself enough. I guess when I've only played 25 first grade games, but in the time that I was reneged on a contract with the Tigers, I had a lot of hate. When I say hate, all I wanted to do was play first grade, but there's a lot of things there that I hadn't quite achieved. I wanted to be a full-on, consistent first grader. Maybe if I stuck out and searched around for a couple more another team to go and train with in the pre-season, maybe I would have. But everything happens for a reason. That just gives me more determination to achieve more things when I turn to boxing.
Yeah, fair enough too. Must have been a pain in the ass having a club renege on a contract when you'd sort of set your heart on it.
Well, especially when there was some big money thrown around given the Super League was happening, and then they said, never mind, you're on the books. There's a fair bit of money there. And then I think there was too many fullbacks at Balmain, West Tigers, what they were. And I never got the nod. So, yeah, it was a little bit disheartening, but that's life. You move on. And if that didn't happen, I probably wouldn't have jumped in the ring and chased, my dreams of being a good contender.
Exactly. And speaking of fullbacks, 1998, Tim Brasher shows up at South Sydney, just as, you're cementing yourself, somewhere in the pecking order. And he shows up, takes the fullback spot, Australian rep player, New South Wales. Was that like, did you feel a little bit gutted or frustrated that he was ahead of you in the pecking order?
Nah, yeah, that was tough. But yeah, he's a legend and he's a real good bloke too. We got along well. But yeah, it's pretty hard to be better to push him out of his position. He was a kangaroo, state of origin. Yeah, he was one of my favourites as a kid growing up. But
Yep.
they slotted me into the wing. I ended up playing centre. I was more or less a utility. I could play anywhere. But yeah, it was a little bit of a kick up the arse when they signed in. But you know, that's only going to make you improve yourself.
I guess it's pretty hard when you're the club, when you've got an opportunity to sign an international superstar. You want to grab him, I guess, to improve your roster. I mean, it must be a pain though for other players.
They did some good signings. I played with Julian O'Neill too. So there's some
Yep.
really good signings with that back then. They got Brasher, they got Julian O'Neill. Um, when I ended up going back there, I played with the likes of Brian Fletcher. So they
Yeah.
had some good footballers come through the ranks when I was there. Just, sadly enough, we never got to play in the top 8 or play semi-final football. But I guess, it was great just to fucking put the boots on and play with the likes of the players like that.
Yeah, man. So 99, as you said, you went to Balmain Tigers. So what was the reason behind the move and how did it all come about?
Uh, I got contacted by Junior, and I think it might have been David Baysari was the coach back then, to the reserve grade, and they wanted me to play in the halves, half or 5'8". So when I went over there, it wasn't just fullback. They said we've looked at you, we've been following you for a bit. We want you to play in the halves or fullback. So I went over there. I had a few runs from different positions. I even played hooker sometimes, played halfback, played fullback. But I ended up breaking my ankle during the season, and then come back and come back through reserve grade. And I played in a mighty reserve grade team for that club too. We made the grand final. I think we won 12 on the trot, and then we played our worst game grand final day against Parramatta Eels and got flogged. So it was sad, but that reserve grade team I played in with the Tigers is one of the best teams I've ever played with. Had the likes of Jason Sinclair, Shane Dunley, Brendan Magnus, Adam Starr, Mick Castini, Lyle Milford. Yeah, we had a really good side. We got the grand final, but we played our worst game grand final day against Parramatta.
Awesome, man. So being a South Sydney man, how did you feel knowing that the South Sydney Rabbitohs were going to be axed from axed from the competition in 1999?
Yeah, mate, we were all gutted. From the likes of being just a toddler, we always had the South Sydney jerseys on, and when they used to play at Redfern Oval, Monday night football would always be there. I went for South Sydney Day Dot when Tugger was playing for him, Phil Blake with the halves, Les Davison, all those blokes, Graham Lyons, Manoa Thompson. So I've always wanted to be a bunny my whole life. Yeah, it was sad days when they kicked them out. It was terrible.
Okay, so was that like maybe a part of the reason you went to Balmain as well, or is it just Balmain came knocking and you took the opportunity?
At that stage, you just, I had a baby on the way, and I thought more about money. So the money was thrown around. They offered me a bigger money, so I went over to the Tigers. And my brother had come from the Tigers, so I didn't mind South Sydney. Balmain Tigers back then. I'd seen my brother come through the ranks. He was on fire at the Tigers. I knew most of the officials over there and some of the blokes that grew up in the area, so it was pretty easy to go over to the Tigers and start from scratch.
Absolutely, totally made sense. So, how did they welcome you to the club? Like, what's it like as a player walking fresh into a club where you've got to get to know the boys, earn your stripes a bit? Is there a bit of niggle? How does that all break down?
Mate, I enjoyed my time with the Tigers. They're all really good blokes, down to earth. A few larrikins. We played some super football. I played with some really good players. I just rambled off on some of the likes and the caliber of the player I played with over there. It was a really good club. I enjoyed all my time playing at the Balmain Tigers, especially. Played some really good football, and I'm glad I went there.
Yes, you should be. And you also got your first win in the NRL for the Tigers. It was your debut match as well, winning 26-18 over the Cowboys. So how good was it to get the monkey off your back after a few years trying to get a win?
Was that at Leichhardt Oval? I was at Leichhardt Oval.
Yeah.
Was it?
I think so.
Yeah, I remember Meriden was the sponsor. I think he gave everyone $2,000 cash because we beat them on the bell. Or it was on the bell. It was a tough win. Right, we only kicked away. What was the score again?
26-18.
Yeah, we
So
won on
pretty
the bell
close.
more or less. Yeah, we all got 2,000 cash for
Sweet.
the top 17. Yeah, he looked after us at Meriden.
Very good. So did it feel good though to get finally taste success in an NRL match?
Yeah, my first win was great. There was a really good bunch of blokes. Solomon Mono, Tyron Smith. Played with some really good blokes. It was a great club. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, man. So as you said, after playing 3 games for Balmain in that season, you like disappeared from rugby league for 4 years. So yeah, what in depth? What was that journey between leaving Balmain and coming back to South Sydney in 2004?
Man, I've been boxing since then. In between the Tigers reneging on a contract, I went and amateur box for a bit. Like I told you, I tried to make the Manchester Games. I had 8 amateur fights, 8 wins, 8 knockouts. So I was going pretty good. But my last fight, I got disqualification when I fought Jamie Pittman in the final to make the Manchester Games. So that was the period when I had the hat off in footy. So that's when I more or less was in the gym as a kid growing up because Dad was best mates with Johnny and I was getting picked on. And so I used to be, addicted to go and watch Jeff Fennick, Costa Zoo,
Yeah.
all that. I'd sit on the apron as a kid when I was at primary school, just idolising them as well, but also playing football. So in the off seasons when I was a teenager, we'd go up there and keep fit. And I always wanted the box, but Dad didn't let me. So, but when I was an adult by that time and Balmain reneged, I just started amateur boxing. And then after I didn't get the nod for the Manchester Games, South were back in the comp. And that's when I come back in the first grade after Contender Series coaching.
Okay, so with that comeback to rugby league, like what was the mindset? Like what gave you that hunger and drive to think, okay, I've been out of the game for a few years now. Like what state of mind and physical fitness did you have to get yourself in? Because it's no mean feat to just get back into the NRL after a big absence.
Mate, I think I had a season with the Jim Beam Cup. Joey Thomas, I probably would have played 10 games at the last part of their comp. And he impressed them enough that Arthur Katina said, come train with us in the preseason. He played pretty good in the Jim Beam Cup. So I completed a preseason and then worked my way through the ranks, reserve grade, and then I started playing first grade. And I went from there. So I've always been pretty fit. I've been blessed with a good engine, and I've always had that mindset of always doing extras, just trying to get back on the field and just improve myself as a player or an athlete.
So how sweet did it feel like signing with South Sydney? Did they approach you or did you go and approach them for a contract?
Well, the Jim Beam Cup that I was playing for was with the South. The Jim Beam Cup was South. So we were a feeder for the top grade.
So okay, right, that makes sense. So in round 17, 2004, you make your long-awaited return to first grade against the Broncos. And even though you went down on the scoreboard, you got a try. You actually got a double on the day. Was it pretty sweet scoring 2 tries against the star-studded Brisbane Broncos?
Yeah, they were gun side. They had the likes of Tallis, Carmichael Hunt. They had some really good players. And yeah, it made my day to climb back in the first grade and score 2 tries down the sideline. On the wing. So yeah, I loved every minute of that climbing back because there was a lot of some business I had to take care of because I didn't really cement myself back in the first grade. But coming back in was it 2004 or 2005, and starting cementing the position in the team was another goal of mine. And then coming up with 2 tries was tremendous.
Absolutely, you actually scored another one the next week, starting at fullback. Scoring another try, against the Panthers. You gave them a flogging, 30-6.
I remember that day. Yeah, that was a good game. They were on fire that year. Didn't they win the grand final the year before or that year?
That's right.
Yeah, and that was at the stadium. Yeah, that was a great win. And I think I got man of the match that day. It was a super game. I loved it.
Oh, how good's that? Loving that. And, yeah, you went on over the next couple of seasons, playing like fairly consistently in first grade. Like you got a lot more games over the next couple of years. And but you got to the end of 2005. So what was the decision then to finish up playing rugby league? Was it to go pursue boxing, or was it you didn't get a contract offer? Or how did that finish for you?
Mate, I had to get an operation. It's a thing called, which is a lot of the AFL players get it over here now. It's osteopubis. It's where the tendon comes off the pubic bone. So that more or less put me out, and I had to get an operation late in the season, and then South just didn't want to sign me again because it's a pretty big injury. So it took me a while to get back on track. But like I said, things happen for a reason. That just pushed me even more to get back in the boxing gym. And then out of the blue, I got a phone call from the Contender. Johnny Lewis, actually. There's a Fox 8 TV show called The Contender. And I only got a late call up. It was only 3 days out from commencing because Shannon Taylor pulled out. So I hadn't really been training, but, you know, I was all, my mind not training and just staying moderately fit is still pretty good. So even though everyone had been given 14 weeks of preparation and go into this TV show, I had 3 days notice and walked in there. And yeah, it was crazy times.
That's amazing.
Crazy.
So for those who don't know, the Contender Series is basically a reality TV show for boxing where it's a tournament. We've got like 14 boxers or something, and it's knockout, winner takes all, and has the opportunity to fight Anthony Mundine. Was that basically how it went?
What it was 14 of Australia's best super middleweights, and there was 5 top teners in the world in there, and little old me, and I was only just a 2-fight novice. One fight I'd won and one fight I'd been knocked out. So I was the biggest underdog in the competition. And the first day we get in there, there's a fitness challenge.
Okay.
Mind you, 18 months before it, I was south of the border. So I was unemployed. Footy had finished. I still was training, but I was in some dark times. I was on the piss and on the drugs and running the muck with mates of mine. So you wouldn't believe it, the first time I walked in there, they've got a fitness challenge. And it was set, you know, where they shoot home and away over Palm Beach before there's all that bush and mountains and that. So you had to go in the sand hills and that. You had to do this big obstacle course, which was a fitness challenge. And I won it. I flogged everyone, and I got given a week off. So I was blessed, just given my natural fitness. So I had a week off. Mind you, we were staying in these Ibis apartments, and because I still knew I was behind the 8 ball, I was sneaking out every night and going for a long road run in that, for like an hour road run, because I was already give the blokes probably 50 lengths head start, because even though I was naturally fit, I wasn't super fit like the others were. I hadn't done any sparring. I needed to get in the ring and sparring everyone. So I was breaking out of the Ibis hotel and going for a good hour to whatever, hour and a half run. But I was soul searching too, and I was having some tears and crying and that, because I knew this was all on the line. I had to redeem myself. My kids were crying because dad's lost off and gone before I went into this Contender Series. So it was really life changing going into the Contender House and really waking up myself and saying, seize the day, go and claim it, make something of yourself. So it was life changing, that whole Contender experience. And I owe a lot to Johnny Lewis for calling me out of the blue. He knew exactly what I was going through. I was on death row more or less. Don't want to talk it up, but yeah, I was in some tough times. Like young male adults go through some tough times, you know. Manhood was shot, the football was gone, I wasn't working, and I had all these aspirations of being a good footballer and this and that. So I turned to boxing, and Contender more or less give me the golden ticket to change my life and turn it all around. So it was a blessing.
Absolutely. It must have been insane to get that phone call out of the blue. Like what had you done to get their attention?
Well, someone said, because they knew of me playing NRL, someone said, Johnny, Shannon Taylor's put out, do you know anyone? He goes, mate, I've got a kid in the gym, but he's only had two pro fights, but he did play NRL. They said, who? The Garth Wood. And he said, he's got a bit of profile. Will he come in? At that stage, I was partying on the weekend. I got the phone call when I was recovering, and I said, Johnny, leave it with me, mate. I'll ring me dad. And I see, because I had my girls every second weekend because I was separated. Spoke to my dad. He said, you're going to get murdered. Don't think I don't know what you've been doing for the last 18 months on the piss, this and that. He said, they'll kill you. You'll end up in hospital. And I just said to Mum, I said, Mum, can you do something? Can you talk them into letting me or helping me out minding the kids. And she got it over the line. I don't know what she did, but she pulled a miracle for me. So 2 days later, Fox truck picks me up, and I get escorted to the base where we're going to be training out of and shooting this Fox 8 series. And there's something inside of me, if someone tells me I can't do something, I just got to go out there and prove them wrong. So from the time I stepped into that contender house, I could just feel the transformation, just the challenge that I knew in front of me. It gives me shivers just thinking of the times I wish I could get back. That's what I actually miss, the life of a boxer. I used to love setting myself for a fight, eating right, being so strict, going through everything with a comb, and getting yourself up for a challenge. That's when you really know you're alive. So that's sort of stuff I miss. Not so much the head knocks and the training, but just living that lifestyle. It's precious. Your life, you're pure. You know what I mean?
Mate, I know exactly what you mean. I've done some really tough long runs in my life. One time I've run 100 kilometers, and there's no darker place in my life, than 99 kilometers into a 100-kilometer run, and you are gassed. You've got nothing, and you've somehow got it. 1K just feels so far. That's
it would have been cool. And how long did that take you? 100 kilometers?
It took me 17 hours, and it was on a loop. It was on a 3.8-kilometer loop. Just doing it over and over through the night in the rain. It was horrible.
I'll take my hat off to you, man. That would be torture. I'm a good runner, but I don't think I could run 100 kilometers.
It's a pretty long way.
It's more mental than anything.
Yeah, probably. How did you cope with being on a reality show? Like, you've never been in that environment. You're actually fighting for real, but under the spotlight, you've got cameras, around you all the time. Like, did you find it hard to take that side of it seriously, or were you just like super focused?
You know what?
I just need to do a job here.
I didn't really give it much thought. That there's always cameras around, every move, everything you say. And you look at all those reality TV shows now, and you think, how could you be on that show? It's crazy. But I think more that sort of distracted me from the cameras was the fact that it was boxing. You know what I mean? You knew that you had to get yourself up for a fight. I think only the good boxers, because I remember when I first started boxing, you'd step in the ring and you get distracted by everyone yelling and booing and saying, oh, you're a spastic and that. But as time goes along with the profession you're in, you learn to block a lot of things out and just focus. So I knew I was behind the 8 ball when I got in there, and I just kept to myself for the first couple of days. But when I actually had that first fight with the Queensland champion, and it was a brutal knockout, that's when I started being my American joker, prankster, Wood self. We all got it in us. It's a Wood trait where I was just, taking the piss out of a few blokes, but not being overzealous or being a mug, but just being a little bit cheeky here and there, because that's all a mental game, the boxing game. Yes, it's about fit and it's a physical sport, but your brain, the thing between your two ears is the sharpest tool in the house if it's used correctly.
Yes, absolutely. So what was like the journey to get to the final? Like, how many fights did you have to have? Did you get close to being eliminated? What was that journey like?
Well, because I won that fitness challenge, I didn't have to have a fight for the first week. So I got to train my ass off and really, get myself settled in the house, because there was 5 top banners. Nate Hamden, Bruce Karaoke, Victor Oganoff. It was a 32 fight, 30 fight knockout. But yeah, he was like the most feared super middleweight in the world at that stage. So I've won the first fight against a bloke in Queensland, and I had to fight him. So Victor Oganoff. And before we knew we were going to fight each other, he was my next roommate. And we'll go for a walk to Parramatta Road, and we'll get a Mars bar or whatever drink. And we were friends in that. But when the hat come out, my name come out that I was going to have to fight him, when I just flipped it. So he was in the next door room. So I was in room 13, he was in room 11 or whatever. So every night, because I was still running, going for a run, I thought, this bloke's the most feared super middleweight in the world. I've got to do something. I've got to flip the coin or just make him think I'm a fruitcake. I'm crazy.
Yep.
So before I go for a run, I'd pump up the TV, turn the radio on, and I'd piss off for a run for an hour and a half. And I'd come back up, I'd walk up this, I'd get out the lift, I'd hear, Garth, you fucking amateur, where are you? Turn off the fucking TV, Garth. What the fuck are you doing, Garth? And I'd walk down the hallway thinking, fucking hell, I'm in his head. This is beautiful, this is what I do. So I'd walk in the room, shut the door. Then there was like gyprock wall that was separated, and it was paper thin. So I'd start banging on the wall. Victor, you Russian fucking cunt! I'm gonna rip your fucking head off, you fucking faggot! Boom, 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 boom. He's going, fuck you! I will kill you, God, you fucking cunt! This went on for about a week. Every night I'd do this to him, and then the day of the fight, we had to have a weigh-in. We had a stare-off, headbutt through each other, and we had a fight just before the main fight. But when we get in there, if you have a look at the highlights of that fight, it was a car park fight. Like if you went out on a Saturday night on the piss, it was elbows thrown, spear tackles, but they let it go because it's a TV show. But the first few rounds, I boxed his head off, and then it got ugly and it ended up like a car park fight after a nightclub on the piss. But yeah, that's just one of the stories I had to pull to get in his head because he was, he was number one. He just fought for a world title before he come in the Contender House. He fought a bloke called Darrell, and he would have knocked the bloke out, but they rorted it and pulled the fight and disqualified him for something because he had dynamite. He had sleeping tablets in both hands. He could really he'd knock anyone out. It was a dangerous fight, but I got through that, and then I was in the final of the fight, Careers Karaoke. And that's when I fought my best fight ever. Even though I fought Mundine and knocked Mundine out, me and Billy Hussein went to America and we were sparring blokes same size as him, 6'4". And don't forget, he represented his country in the Olympics. So this bloke was a well-tuned professional athlete. So that fight, when I come, and it was the Contender final, I fought the best fight of my life. I was slipping and moving and counter-punching. Anyone would think I was a seasoned campaigner. I hold that as my best fight I've ever had, the Contender final against Careers Karaoke.
So how good is it? You go all the way to the final, you win the final. You've had a pretty interesting journey to this point. Like, is this the sublime moment, up until this point where, Garth Wood's on top of the world, he's won the Contender Series?
Yeah, if you only went back probably 10 months before that, I was drinking piss with the likes of some bad fucking customers, contemplating doing some heavy shit. And then Johnny Lewis makes a phone call. I owe Johnny Lewis a hell of a lot. He's like my second dad. He always has been. I admire everything he's ever done. And for him to give me that phone call and, took me from the shithouse to the penthouse after winning that, I owe him a lot, a hell of a lot. And it was surreal. Going from, down in the dumps, depression, and then on people's shoulders with the contender belt around my waist. It was
incredible. Absolutely incredible journey. Like, that's amazing. Who can say they've done that? Like, it's so tough to come and win something like that. It takes a certain person to do that. Unbelievable. I love it. So your grand prize is to fight Anthony Mundine, who's like killing everybody in the ring. He said he'd come and take boxing by storm, and he did absolutely that. And so, you're probably easily the outsider in the betting ranks going into this match. So how did you go about your preparation?
Well, mate,
take on the man, Anthony Mundine?
Yeah, we had a big prep. We went over to America and we were sparring a lot of people, but also I had Sakio Bika, who was the American contender winner. It was my main sparring partner leading up to the Anthony Mundine fight. And also Jeff Fennick in my corner. Me and him had a preparation where we would attack his body. And if you watch where I finally got to unleash my punches when I fought Chuck in the fifth round, I hit him with a left rip on one side of the ring, and then it gets him, and then he runs from me he tries to get away from me because I really hit him with a ripper of a left rip. And then I left hook and overhand right him. And that's exactly what we've been prepping for, me and Fenning, 6 months more or less leading up to the fight. That's what they did wrong. After I won that fight, because they still wanted me to build up my profile, they gave me 6 months, or maybe it might have been 10 months before the fight was going to happen. I think if they jumped straight on me and would have wanted the fight to hurry up within 3 months, I wouldn't have this awesome prep that I did have going overseas with Fennick, Sakio Bika, and, it might have been a different story. But the fact that they thought they were going to walk all over me and they give me 10 months preparation shows that they took me lightly and they underestimated me.
Absolutely, they did. So talk us through match day. How are the nerves? You're walking out to the ring, the announcers introducing you to the crowd, all of that cool stuff we see on TV. You're going out there to face, an IBO WBA world middleweight champion. He's won 40, fights, 3 losses. How do you control your mind in that moment, with the magnitude of it all, or was it a case of Garth Wood's just been released and he's just going to go do this?
Yeah, well, confidence is the crazy thing. The boxing, being a boxer and what I just pulled off was crazy, given the fact that I was still only a novice and I beat the likes of, some serious customers in the Contender
Absolutely
house. What that does to someone and their confidence, and just I started thinking that I didn't think I was too good for people, but I started thinking that this was what I was made to do.
Yep.
And I didn't fear anyone, and that's what the ability that boxing has to take someone from down on the bones of his ass and just had no life in him for a stage, and then after getting a few wins together and hanging with the right people and having the right people in your ear telling you what you want to hear, there wasn't one thing that discouraged me thinking that I couldn't beat him. I had a book called Maximum Achievement, and I made a montage because I was such a rough house boxer and didn't have all the experience like Choc had, and I was only a 7-fight novice. I put all these different fighters that I wanted to have. I wanted Sugar Ray speed. I wanted Mike Tyson power. So I made this montage of all these great fighters, Evander Holyfield, this and that. And then I had a picture of Choc on the canvas when he got knocked out by Svianoki, and I had a picture of me standing over him, like making out that I was going to knock him out. Every time I'd wake up in the morning, that's all I'd see. That's all I'd see. So it just give me more motivation and more positivity that, this is going to happen. I can do this, because your thoughts control your life. So that played a big part, but also I trained like a war horse, and I had the great people around me. If you set out something to the universe, it tests you. It throws things at you and sees if you're going to run away, if you're going to stand there and say, yeah, I am. This is me. And you just got to invite it. The good, bad, the ugly, and you just got to take it head on.
So during the fight, at any stage, did you feel that you weren't in control, or did you just feel like, no, I've definitely got this, and I'm just going to wait for my opportunity to take that one vital shot?
Well, the hard thing was that with Choc, because you knew that I had such power in both hands, the first 4 rounds he was sort of holding on to me and not really letting me get out and let my punches go, you know what I mean? So it was only until round 5 that I really got to let my punches flow, and that's when I connected. Everything that me and Jeff were practicing and Billy was saying, get him on the ropes, hit him with the body shot, and then take his head off. It's exactly what we were practicing for. So there's no fluke. Some people say, no, he closed his eyes when he threw those punches. Nothing like that happened. They were just haters, and they couldn't imagine that a bloke like me, 7-fight novice, would knock out a three-time world champion. But just lets you know, you can do anything in life if you put your heart to it. And little behold, look what I've done. I brought to life me knocking Choc out, not just beating him, but knocking him out in the 5th round. So it just lets you know that your thoughts control your life. And, it was actually, this is a movie, the whole experience I took from being a bloke on the bones of his ass, not wanting to be around, lost his manhood, his family fell over, he had no job. And then get a phone call from Johnny Lewis, and look what happens in the space of 18 months when you feed your life full of fucking positivity, not negativity. You know what I mean? So
absolutely,
your thoughts control your life. And like Johnny Lewis has said to me all my life, it's the thing between your ears, son. If you use it correctly, it's the sharpest tool in the house, and he's always been there for my hard times, Johnny Lewis, and I owe him a lot. I owe him a hell of a lot, and I'll always be there for him. He's a champion person and a great man to have in my life.
Brilliant, man. To me, it really reminds me of that movie Cinderella Man. It's one of my favorite movies. I absolutely love it. You've literally done the same thing. It's unbelievable. I just think it's fantastic. Yeah, man. You've seen that movie, right? It's a great one.
Yeah, I loved it. That was a great show.
Great, eh? So cool. That's a true story. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, man. So, how did your friends and family react? In that moment, you knock out Choc, and You go crazy and mate,
I'll tell you
unbelievable
what,
result.
my brother had been along for the campaign with every one of my fights, and if you look at footage when I do knock Chock out and he's on the canvas, my brother's yelling and screaming his head, even though we grew up with each other and we're all close family friends. Other than, Chock, he's done some great things for boxing. He's given a lot of Australian boxers a chance to take his head off and made him some big money, and he did that for me. And I'm grateful I was the one that kicked him off his throne, more or less. But my brother was, yeah, get that in there, this and that, right? And on the count, my brother was about to jump in the ring, but Billy Hussein and Jeff Fennick held him back. If he jumped in that ring on that night before they counted him out for 10, I would have got disqualified. So I can
really?
thank Billy Hussein for pulling that back, because Nat was just overzealous and jumping in the ring because he was excited, because, all our Christmases had come at once. No one give me a chance to beat Chock, and I threw egg on all their faces. It was super.
Yeah, man, that was such an unbelievable result. To be fair, so what would you put your success to boxing down to in comparison to rugby league? Like, do you feel like you've got any unfinished business with rugby league? Like when you look back at it all?
Nah, not at all. I've been blessed that I've been such a natural athlete, been able to play both two roughhouse sports, if you ask me, boxing and rugby league. I'm just blessed that I had a good household. Mum and dad were always pushing us to play sport. If it wasn't athletics, it was football, boxing, swimming. We did everything. And that was just tough love and growing up in the neighborhood. The more things that you use your energy on as a kid growing up, the less trouble you get into.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think a lot of kids need to get more active. Just keep playing sports, keeps you out of trouble. It's a good thing to do. And so you and Mundy, you had a rematch. Unfortunately, the result didn't go your way this time, but you had consecutive bouts in 2013, which saw you capture the PABA light heavyweight and WBA Pan African middleweight titles, solidifying your reputation as a boxer who never took a backward step. Was this how you'd like to be known and remembered as?
Yeah, I just like to know that, it doesn't really happen much anymore. Everyone's worried about losing their O, where given what happened, I don't think Billy Hussein even said something to me. He goes, mate, what you did in the space of time with so many fights and the caliber of person that you fought, you never took a backward step. Well, that's just me. I'd rather try and fail than not try at all. And I always think, oh, what if I just did? Maybe I may have. Well, I would never ever be thinking, oh, I'd always just throw my hat in the ring and see what happens. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, at least I tried. One punch can turn the whole thing in fighting.
Yeah.
So that's all that happens. That's happening. You just have to land that punch and it's lights out, especially if you've got the power that I had. So I was blessed with that. I had sleeping tablets in both hands.
Mate, you are far braver than I. So after all the highs of boxing, things took a bit of a turn for you in a way you probably never expected, and you found yourself in a situation which had huge ramifications and probably changed your life forever. Where you were incarcerated after an incident went horribly wrong for you. So at this point, I'll let you divulge as much or as little as you like. So what happened at this point of your life? What turned things?
Well, a guy put his hands on my missus. And growing up in the neighborhood I grew up in, the family I grew up in, you don't let anyone touch your kids, or especially your missus. And he broke her cheekbone.
Okay.
And he knocked her out. It was pretty bad. And I went looking for him, couldn't find him, but I knew that his kid played football the next morning at the Oval. So I went, silly me, went and sorted it out.
Okay.
And looking at it now, it's quite stupid. I could have killed him, knowing that I know how to hold my hands up and how to hurt people. But, I can look back at that now and be grateful that I didn't. And I'd served 4 months in jail. But it's just my makeup. I don't think I could let anything like that happen, even if it happened again today. I probably wouldn't do it in public. But I had to suffer and I had to put my family through a lot of things. My girl, the kids, mum and dad are at an age now where they're worrying just because they know I find it hard to take a backward step if someone puts shit on me. And inside, in jail, you find that can happen a lot. and they just didn't want me serving any more time if I hit someone and hurt them again, and get an extended sentence on my jail time. But with jail, isolation is the only thing that can really bend you over. You either got to accept it and just make the most of your time in there. Don't get with the wrong people. I just trained my ass off, and it was very hard early on, not knowing what jails were about and expecting, to be. I've grown up in an area, and a few people have gone to jail. I was expecting to be a tough, hard man's jail where there's a lot more drug addiction and mental patients in there. So it was a lot of shit that I didn't fucking know how to handle it for the first couple of weeks. I was only in there for 4 months, greatly enough, because I ended up pleading guilty. And I got out on time served. But I can put that all behind me now and just be grateful that I had good people around me to get me out of jail. And I can look back at it now, and I've got a hot temper, but the way I've been brought up, you don't let anyone touch your missus or your kids. So I learned a hard lesson. But yeah, I'm grateful that I didn't hurt him too much. I would have been doing a lot bigger stretch than I did. Would have been in there for life if I did kill him. There's a possibility too. So I've got to consider that I'm a very lucky boy.
So did the courts sort of treat it a bit more seriously because you were a boxer and knew how to hurt people?
Yeah, given the fact that I was a boxer and you're considered as a lethal weapon, and the fact that I went to a kids' football match and bashed him, that didn't go down too good either.
I guess so. Oh no. So what were like some of the day-to-day challenges you faced, on the inside? Like, do you freak out? I guess because you're a lot tougher than the average person. Like for me, I would be petrified. I would be so petrified to be driving off.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I was scared. Don't get me wrong. I was scared. Anyone that tries to tell you they're not scared of going into an environment that they've never been before, heard a lot of stories, is full of shit. But I was 45, and 45 is very old for jail these days. So I was on the piss a bit. I was just training my ass off, doing 500 burpees a day, 500 push-ups, running around the yard. I went to yard jails, but I was more or less kept to myself. And then after a while, people realised who I was, but no one ever come and put shit on me. I think it was just the fact that I was humble, and I would just look people straight in the face, and nothing happened really. I was all good.
Okay. So was there any one thing that kept you going, friends, family, like the thought of getting out, seeing your family again, all that sort of thing?
Yeah, well, my daughters and my missus and my family especially, but my daughter was playing. She just got put in there. She plays rugby league, and I got to talk to her on the phone. She goes, "You wouldn't believe you ringing me at the right time." I said, "What?" Because I'm just signing a contract with the Roosters. So when I was in there, she played a debut, and she scored 3 tries on a debut. So I was crying in my cell, yelling and screaming, "Yeah, man," putting this whistle on. They give you this whistle. So I had a special moment inside, and I just couldn't wait to get back outside and give everyone a hug, because I put them through torment just because I was hot-tempered, But sad thing is, that's my beast inside me, and that's my makeup. It's hard to do something when your loved ones are hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. So just how massive was it for you that day you're told you're being released, you go through the door, you're outside. What's the first thing that goes through your mind, or what's the first thing you go and do when you get your freedom back? How big is that?
Yeah, I walked home. I just wanted to go and walk. My missus had high heels on. She come from the court. She goes, "What are you doing?" I said, I'm walking home. She goes, "Well, just get in the cab. I've got heels on." I said, "Take your heels off. We're walking home." So we walked from the Downing Centre all the way to Erskindale. And I just wanted to smell the fresh air and know that I was outside.
That's so cool, man. There's nothing like, today was a cracking day here in Christchurch. It was a frost. It was a beautiful sunny day, blue sky, not a cloud in the sky. And those are the days where, like, me and my wife, we go running together. It's just like, just good to be alive. Is that kind of that wonderful feeling of just being alive on free?
I know what you mean when you say running. If I've got anything that's on my mind and negativity and I've had a shit day, I'm like Forrest Gump too, and always have been. I just got to go for a run, and it just just releases it. And it's similar walking. I was walking in my suit, I told her to kick her high heels off and said, you got to hold them. So she we just walk. I just had to walk and just all the fresh air and know that I was out of there. It was good to be home.
It must have been amazing. And I just want to thank you for being willing to talk about that. That's really cool.
No, my
Not
pleasure,
easy
mate.
stuff to talk about. All good,
That's
man.
fine.
Yeah. So I just want to finish with a few fun questions. So who do you think's going to win the NRL in 2024?
Mate, it's a hard comp. You know, I'm a South fan, but they're not having a good season. I think we can put that past us. But also, there's a few teams. Oh, I like what I saw with Canterbury Bankstown last night. Mate,
Yep.
they've got some good young players. Burton's playing some good footy. I wonder whether or not he'll make Origin. It's all up to Maguire now, but there's no real standout at the moment. Everyone's playing good footy. Manly play good. They beat Storm.
Yep.
I've got a soft spot for the Dogs. I've got a family friend who's playing off the bench, and he set up a good try last night. Bailey Hayward come off the bench for the Dogs.
Great.
So I'll be
Where did he come from?
Yeah.
He's fantastic. Yeah.
No, he's a good little player. He's got a good brain. He's a good footballer. He's going places for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that Jacob Preston as well. He's just a unit.
Yeah.
He's unreal. Great player.
No.
Yeah. So what is your favorite TV show or series of all time?
Oh, what's a tough one. Jesus. I like The Sopranos.
Yes, that's a great show. Yes, you beauty. That's in my
The
top five.
Sopranos,
I love that. Oh, mate. It's that episode where they get stuck in the van in the forest. Paulie
and they have
the
to kill
nephew.
that bloke. Yeah.
Yeah. So good, eh?
Awesome.
So funny. Oh, mate. Okay, your last question is: if you could eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I like steak. Like steak and mushroom sauce, veggies. Like a nice big rump. I love a rump.
Oh, good, mate. That's perfect answer. I love it. So I just want to thank you heaps for coming on the show, mate. Going back in the day with me.
My pleasure, Dave. I'm always here for you, brother. You're a good man. Thank you.
Oh, mate, I appreciate it so much. And thank you to everyone who's taken the time to listen on Spotify and watch it on YouTube. Going back in the day with the great Garth Wood, fantastic boxer, unbelievable Cinderella Man of the modern era. I just want to thank you again, and we'll see you all next time for kickoff.
Take care, brother. Thank you, everyone. See you later.
Full time.